Jamila, I would like to answer one of the questions that was asked with respect to dividends paid. I think it was from Nandi. Nandi, when it comes to dividends paid, according to what we have here, we have shareholders for dividends, which are final dividends. Final dividends for 2022 amounted to 46,000. Final dividends for 2023 amounted to 80,000. Note that dividends that were declared last year have to be paid this year. And in the video, to calculate dividends paid, I took last year's dividends and I multiplied them. Well, I took last year's dividends and I added them with current year interim dividends. But the problem is, how do you get current year interim dividends? I'll start with the first point that we are given here. It says that Netstar Limited had 1,350,000 issued shares on the 1st of January 2023. So these are shares that were issued in January 2023. I'm going to put them in my timeline. According to the information that I've got, on the 1st of January 2023, I'm going to have 1,350,000 shares. And looking at your trial balance, you will notice that your ordinary share capital at the beginning of the year was 5,400,000, and at the end of the year it was 5,700,000. Note that that is the share capital that goes with 1,350,000 shares that were issued. So 5 million share capital will go with 1,350,000 shares that were issued. Right? Let's read further. They say additional shares were sold at 3 Rand per share on the 1st of July 2023. No shares were repurchased during the year. I don't think that is helping us, but I can put it on there as part of my workings. We don't have the number of shares, we don't have the share capital. Tough luck for us. Meaning that we also can't determine how many shares we had at the end of the year, right? So what are we going to do now? At the end of the year, we have our ordinary share capital, which is that 5.7 million, but they didn't tell us how many shares were issued at the end of the year. So again, I'm going to put it here. I don't have the number of shares issued there. But what I've noticed is that my share capital has increased. Look at this, Nandi. Our share capital has increased from 5.4 million to 5.7 million. So it increased by 300,000. The fact that it increased, it means we issued more shares at 3 Rand, by the way. So 300,000, when you divide it by 3 Rand, it'll give you the number of shares that we issued to get that 300,000, which will be 100,000 shares. It means from the 1st of July, we issued 100,000 shares. From the 1st of July, in total, there were 1,450,000 shares that were issued. And these shares will be in issue up until the 1st of September, which is the day your interim dividends were paid. So we're going to have these shares issued up until the end of the year, meaning that even when we get to September, September is around here, on the 1st of September, we will still have those number of shares issued, which is 1,450,000. So since we declared dividends here at 30 cents, we will just take that 1,450,000 and multiply it by 30%, and that will give us our interim dividends of 435,000. Now, to calculate dividends paid, you can take this interim dividends and add them with last year's final dividends. You will get your dividends paid. Or you can just calculate your dividends on ordinary shares, which is your interim for this year plus your final for this year. Your final for this year was 80,000. Your interim for this year, we just calculated it. It's 435,000. 435,000 plus 80,000 will give you dividends on ordinary shares, which is 515,000. As I've said, you can use this formula to calculate your dividends paid, which is current year's interim plus last year's final, which is the 435,000 plus last year's final was 46,000. It'll give you dividends paid. Or if you don't want to use that, you can use this formula here. Dividends at the beginning of the year were 46,000 in trade and other payables, so we have to pay them this year. Dividends on ordinary shares is at 515,000 that we've just calculated. Final dividends for this year amounted to 80,000. We're going to add it back, and it'll still give you the same answer, which will be your dividends paid. Actually, there's a mistake there. I just need to correct it quickly. It's supposed to give you 481,000. Oh, I see where the mistake was. Thank you, Nandi. All right, and that is it. I hope your question was answered. Thank you again. Guys, please keep on sending those questions. If you have a different paper that I haven't gone through and you would like me to go through it, just let me know. Email it to me or just send me a WhatsApp and I'll go through it. Thanks again for always supporting, and I really appreciate it. For now, all I can say is, Khotso.